The second section of the wasteland, entitled A Game of Chess, represent the sexual sterility in the modern time, especially the human relationship, the most intimate of human relationship called marriage has suffered a jolt. It has become cheerless, monotonous, meaningless relationship, a game of chess in the modern time. The game of chess is a symbol of this sexual barrenness, and the section has orientation towards this kind of sterility. If sex within the marriage is the subject of second section, sex outside the marriage, all kind of abnormal human relationship, gay, homosexual, lesbian, premarital, postmarital, live-in relationship, all such relationships are the subject of the third section called the Fire Circle. The title of this section of Game of Chess comes from John Middleton's play called Beware, Women Beware. And there, in the original story, the woman is being warned against the chances of seduction. They are also reminded of a harmonious relationship against the backdrop of a game of chess from Shakespearean play called The Tempest. The sweetest of the relationship represented in the cave. And there is a direct contrast between the 17th century play by Shakespeare and the modern wastelanders game of chess. So we take up now the discussion of this section. In the last section, London was metamorphosed into ancient Rome, the living dead crossing London Bridge. On their way to their work in Dante's cities of lost dead. Inconclusive romance in the Hyacinth Garden, sandwiched between the passages out of Tessin and Isolde from Wagner's opera. A game of chess transports us abruptly from the streets of London to a gilded, decorated drawing room in which sits a rich, unnamed lady, jewel-bedecked lady who complains about her nerves. My nerves are bad tonight, stay with me, and wonders what to do. The poem drifts again from the viewed image of this rich woman to the London pub. This time a pub at the closing time in which two cockney women gossip. They are going to chat about, they are going to talk about a third person called Lil, whom they declare that she is a friend. Within a few stanzas, we have moved from the upper crust of the society to the London's low life. So this section represents the images of upper strata of the society and the lower strata of the society, and the subject is sexual barrenness in marriage. The two contrasting but equally hideous examples of what he hears or overhears. The narrator is hearing or overhearing the conversation. During his leisure hour, among the high and the low in the body, the bedroom, and the pub, the most intimate of the human relationship, has suffered a jolt. It has become sterile, dull, and meaningless. The modern lady of Bordeaux records Pope's Glinda and Shakespeare's Cleopatra. Traditions is foreseeing the dreary romanticizing or the seduction of the typist girl in the next scene, in the next section. T.S. Eliot is not romanticizing or urging a return to the past. On the contrary, it takes care to remind us of the brutal lust of the past. King Tarus seducing his sister-in-law, and the violated Rhine maidens of the sorrows of Tissin again in the fire sermon. This is a brief description of the scene we are going to have in this section called A Game of Chess. T.S. Eliot's picture of the wasteland is unified by a recurring imagery of drought and barrenness, of cities superimposed upon city, river upon river, most of all by variation played upon the theme of sexual failure. But the sexual variation also serves Eliot's particular objective or ends by focusing the ills or focusing upon the ills of modern society, modern world, within the context of individual soul and out of the reach of socio-political question. Sexual episodes spring from the lust or boredom, running the gamut of seduction, rape, homosexual solicitation, and all without love. Romantic love is missing from the wasteland, is unfulfilled, married, fruitful or fruitless. Where fruitful, the fruit is unwanted. In this section then, the question again ultimately concerns the subjective change depends upon the individual will. The wasteland does not actually explore the change. The section begins with a description of a woman sitting on a beautiful chair that looks like burnish a glowing throne. A nod to Cleopatra and Antony and Cleopatra, she occupied a splendid drawing room, replete with full of coffered ceiling and lavish decoration. The setting is decidedly grandeur, the highest kind. We are not sure who the woman is, perhaps Eliot's wife Viviana could be the woman sitting there. Perhaps a stand-in for all members of the upper class of the society, perhaps simply an unnamed personage whiling away her hours, her time in a candlelit kingdom. These are some of the possibilities. T.S. Eliot writes of satin cases poured forth in the rich profusion, voids of ivory and coloured glasses, an antique mantle, and the glitters of the jewel. Both the women and the room are magnificently decorated or attired, perhaps to the point of excess. The passage then becomes a revelation of an estranged relationship. Some of the detailed points of failed romance or failed marriage. The golden Cupid who must hide his eye behind his wing, the depiction of Philomena's rape, an example of love cascading into brutality and violence. And even the women's strange synthetic perfume drowning the scent in audio is the example of, is the image of the barrenness of human relationship. So we take up the text for the study now. This is the description of a beautiful decorated bedroom. The chair she sat in, the women occupy a comfortable position, and this position in the chair is compared to a glowing throne which is artfully decorated, glowing on the marble where the glass held by the sandal wrought with fruity wine. So the glass on the marble is decorated with the fruited wine, the symbol of fertility, from which a golden cupider peeped out. Cupider is the young one of Cupid. So there are two cupider, the symbol of love and romance, they peep out. Another hides his eyes behind his wing. So another one hides his eye out of shyness. Double the flames of 7-branch candelabra reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of her jewels rose to meet it. A lavish display of jewelry is there, and its luster, its shine meets the shine of the glowing marble, and the glitter of the candelabra, the 7-branched candelabra on the ceiling, they brighten the whole atmosphere with light. The glitter of her jewel rose to meet it from the satin cases poured in rich profusion, in voids of ivory and colored glasses unstopped, lurked and stained synthetic perfume. Light and smell of the perfume, they mix together to decorate this bedroom. So, unguent, powder or liquid, these perfumes are a varied type: semi-liquid, liquid and solid. Trouble confuse and down the sense in audio, but it's not inspiring because it appears to be a dull scene. It does not inspire human passion. So the word confuse is very important in the line, and it's going to confuse the sense and drown the sense in this rich profusion of smell stirred by the air that freshened from the window. So this perfume is stirred, roused by the fresh air coming from the window. These ascended in flattening the prolonged candelabra flame. So a mix of fresh air and perfume mingle together to brighten the light of the candelabra, and they rise again to make a pattern upon the ceiling. These ascended in the flattening the prolonged candelabra flung their smoke into laceria. Laceria is the part of ceiling. So this rich perfusion is going to paint a scene on the ceiling. Huge seawood fed with copper burned green and orange. In the middle there is a painting, and the poet is now, the narrator is now going to describe the middle of this bedroom, which is decorated with painting It's of sea wood, which is etched in, carved in green and orange color, framed by colored stone mace decorated with stone, in which sad light are carved dolphin swine. It's a picture of dolphin which is swimming in the carved boats, an image of restricted, confined life. We'll continue with the text, the reading of the text. First, a short description, a comment upon this text. Cupid refers to, or Cupida refers to Cupid, which represents love and curiosity. While one heavenly creature is curious because he is looking his baby, the other is shy and shameful. Seven-branched candelabra is referring to a moon which symbolizes enlightenment, and the flame symbolizes passion. Candles are phallic symbols also, just as Jug in the succeeding line is a reference to a comment upon women's breasts. We only enjoy a brief moment of beauty. These objects have withered and only signify what has been lost. They are the cultural stump which have withered with time. But they are frequent reminder what man has lost. This dialogue represents dwelling on the nothingness and normality of everyday life. So there is a complete reversal of our expectation in the next part of the scene, which is in the form of a dialogue. It's a dialogue between two human beings, possibly lovers or possibly husband and wife. So driving in a closed car can mean turning your back to nature and fertility. This is the solution they have found to the dullness, the emptiness of their human existence. The narrative voice that sets the scene of the mock dialogue is decidedly formal with sophisticated diction and one particular elaborate sentence structure. This formal public voice displays its haughty disdain by describing the polished scene as a perfusion so rich that it chokes our fresh air. And sometimes its word connotations are maliciously derogatory. The ironic violation of the nightingale's inviolable voice is replete with empty jug to the modern ear. So this story of human lust and the medical transformation of the women have lost meaning to the modern ear, so it has become meaningless, empty chant, jug. A certain antique mantle was displayed as though a window gave upon the Sylvian scene the chain of Philomela. So this story of Philomela is borrowed from Metamorphoses, Ovid's Metamorphoses. Tarus the king was sent by the wife to bring his sister. On the way, Tarus fell madly in love with the girl. She was taken to some open barn in some field where she was brutally assaulted and her tongue was cut by this brutal king so that she could not narrate her story. But somehow she managed to convey her sad tale to his sister Epigone. She decided to take revenge upon her husband, and she was fed upon the carcasses of his own son. So the king Taurus, when he came to know what has transpired. He ran after the girl, and the women, they were transformed into birds, and the sister became Philomela, and she still narrates her sad tale, but possibly the modern man has lost the capacity to find the meaning in the narrative. So to become jug to the dirty years of the modern wastelander and other withered stumps of the time. So these paintings are a mirror of, a reflection of the withered time, the withered culture. Staring forms leaned out, leaning and hushed the room and closed. They have become ghostly remains of the past. So they are leaning. Now we can hear the shuffle of footsteps on the stair. Footsteps shuffled on the stair under the firelight, under the bus, her hair spread out in filing point. And we are given a view of the women dressing, combing her hair or tresses. Clawed into words that would be savagely still. So these here, they display her passion. They give words and meaning to what she wants to communicate. So we now comment upon the scene, a long passage here. One of the painting in the room depicts the rape of Philomela, a scene pulled from Ovid's Metamorphoses. In the original story, King Tarus' wife bids him to bring her sister Philomela to her. Upon meeting Philomela, Tarus falls instantly and hopelessly in love. Nothing must get in the way of his conquest. Raped with lust, he steals away with her and rapes her in the woods. The sylvan scene in it mentioned, he then ties her up and cuts off her tongue, so that she may not tell others of what has happened. He returns to his wife, but Philomela is able to weave on a loom her story. She gives loom to her sister, who, upon discovering the truth, retrieves Philomela, slays Tarus' son, and feeds his carcass to the king. When he finds out that he has been served his own son dinner, Tarus flies in rage, chasing both Philomela and his wife out of the palace, and all three of them are transformed into birds. The speechless Philomela becomes a nightingale. Snatches of dialogue follow. It seems plausible that the woman in the room is addressing the lover. She complains that her nerves are bad and requests that he stays with her. When she asks him what he is thinking, the narrative retorts, I think we are in Rat Alley where the dead men lost their bone. Still, more harried questions follow. The woman demands to find out whether he knows nothing. Then he asks she should do what she should do now, what they should do tomorrow. And the lover or the narrator answers that a lot of itinerary follows. The hot water at 10, if it rains, the closed car, and we should play a game of chess, pressing lidless eye and waiting a knock upon the door, and this knock upon the door is the knock of death. Again the word drowned appears, and with it comes the spectre of death by water. In this case, the thick perfumes seem to blot out authentic sensation, just as the splendid decoration of the room appear at times more menacing than beautiful. The trappings of the wealthy modern life comes at a price. The woman has lost her freedom. The carving of dolphins cast in sad light. that seems almost haunted, staring from lean, etc., etc. The woman, for her part, is a gliding apparition herself, seated upon her chair, like queen recalling Cleopatra, thus yet another failed example of love affair. What might the game allegorize for Eliot, he offers it up as one of the several activities. When the women demand what should we ever do, simply slot in the strict numerical ordering of the day. Chess recalls lidless eyes, and it plays bid or its players bid the time and wait for the knock upon the door. Chess belongs therefore to this lifeless life. It is quintessential game of the wastelanders and the wasteland, dependent on numerous and cold strategies devoid of feeling or human contact. Interaction is reduced to a set of movements on the chessboard. We expect that we have already heard of the question meditating voice. I remember those are the pearls that were his eyes. There is in connotation or confrontation of these voices a dramatic presentation of the wasteland, lack of communication, of respect and of love. So marriage has lost its sweetness, its dignity, its love, and it has become saturnine and dull. Now, we are transported to another scene in a pub. My nerves are bad tonight, but we'll have to wait and find the dialogue between the husband and wife in this scene first before we go to the scene in pub. Yes, Bat, stay with me, speak to me, why don't you never speak to me? Complete lack of communication between the lovers. What are you thinking of? What are you thinking? And his insistent cry to know what is working in his mind. So modern man, like Proof Frog, has suffered from paralysis of will, and he is locked into the hell of his own mind. And he could do nothing but think and think and think and delay everything. So I never know what you are thinking. I think we are in the rat's alley where the dead man lost their body. So it's a hollow life, a life which is compared to a living death. What is that noise, the wind under the door? What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing again, nothing. So this section is dominated by wind of change. And it brings the life of two individuals to nothingness or nada, or meaninglessness. So nothing represents the meaninglessness of their life without communication or incommunicability. I remember those are the pearls that were his eyes. Are you alive or not? Is there nothing in your head? So these are the insistent questions. Are you dreaming? There is nothing in your mind. And this is the line from the Tempest. There is a complete reversal. A complete change is there, and the line refers to this change, but this is a negative change in the wasteland. The scene in the Tempest is one of harmony, love, respect. This respect is completely reversed in the dialogue between the two lovers in the scene, possibly the husband and wife. So we now comment upon we find here a comment. The extremely short, rapid sentences are so high-pitched, sharp and excited, and demanding that there is really no need for the voice to say, "My nerves are bad tonight." Staggered between the cries of this voice is a voice that is low-pitched, the lover's voice, dull, unexcited, and equiescent of suffering human condition. I think we are in a rat alley and we should play a game of chess. The voice using the first and third singular pronoun only remain detached, scornful. The problem which appears in Luz Marie's case, the gossip comes to a climax in the next scene. What you get married for if you do not want children? It puts a good time against a background of the frustration of life and modulates the death theme to this level. And the section closes with a quotation from Shakespeare's play called Hamlet, Ophelia chanting "Good night." This is ironic in its elegant, ceremonious contrast to the language of the first scene, and derives from Ophelia's mad farewell in Hamlet. Hence, the protagonist did not stay with the lady of nerve, but is still mocking the lady of situation with wits. From Shakespeare's Wrath, as he recalls another death by water, the quiet voice is sometimes edged with bitterness, which shows evidence of his cynical attitude and forces us out of mocking. Oh, that Shakespeare's Wrath is so elegant, so intelligent. So there are snatches of the song brought from various sources, and they fit into the description of low light and representing a kind of irony, mockery and disdain. Oh, that Shakespeare Wrath is so elegant, so intelligent. What shall I do now? What shall I do? Ironic overtones of Shakespeare's song, and it's followed by the same insistent cry of the women, "What shall we do?" Of course, there is nothing to do because change is impossible. Wasteland does not believe in change and walk the street with my hair down. The woman is threatening now. She is overcome with fury, and she threatened she will walk away in the streets without a single cloth upon her. She will walk in buff. What shall we do tomorrow? What shall we ever do? And the lovers answered without quotation, the hot water at 10, and if it rains, the closed car at 4, and we should play a game of chess. This is the kind of empty routine which substitutes the meaningful relationship. Passive, lidless eye waiting for the knock upon the door. A macabre reference. They are waiting for death with lidless eye. So that's an example of death in life, which is caused by the barrenness of human relationship. And this is the closing. Now we are transported to the stanza I mentioned a minute back. When Lil's husband got demobbed, I said, I will mince my word, I said to her mercy. This is a conversation between two friends. They are talking about a third friend called Lil, whose husband is released from the army and he is coming home and he wants a good time. I think one can understand the connotation of good time in or against this background. Now Albert's coming back, make yourself a bit smart. She's aging, an example of premature aging. She's 31 and already she has lost her teeth. So she seems to be antique, aging, growing old. He will want to know what you have done with the money he gave you to get yourself some treat. The women needs venture. He did, I was there, you had them all out ill and get a nice set. He said, I swear I can't bear to look at you. Aging and death are the two invariable conditions of human life. And I no more can't I said and think of the poor Albert. He's been in the army 4 years, he wants good time. What a sympathy for the husband. And if you do not give it to him, there are others. So if you cannot satisfy your husband, of course, the friend like her will substitute. Then sometime, oh, that I said, then I will know who to thank, she said, and give me a straight look. The women know. Well, what good friend she has with her. And then come the bartender cry, hurry up, it's time. A monotonous kind of mood, a monotonous voice, again bringing to us a picture of transitoriness of human life. If you do not like it, you can get on with it. I said others can pick and choose if you cannot. So if you cannot satisfy your husband, the others will do it. But if Albert makes off, it won't be for the lack of telling. So Albert may leave you. That's the consolation, the sympathy from the friend. You ought to be ashamed, I said, to look so antique. You are looking aged, old. And her only, and she's 31 only. I cannot help it, she said, pulling a long face. It's the pills I took to bring it off, she said. The cause of her losing beauty is her over-fecundity. She was taking full pills to abort the children. You are a proper fool, I said. Well, if Albert won't leave you alone, it is, I said, but you get married for if you do not want children. The quotation could be relevant to the last section, but in this case, the woman is aging and dying, alive in death or a living death because of children. So she has given birth to many a children. And look at the number. Hurry up, please, it's time. Again, the bartender cry is there. Well, that Sunday Albert was home. They had a hot gammon, and they asked me at dinner to get the beauty of it. So this friend was invited for the dinner. When the husband came home, Albert came home, and now the repetition, hurry up, please, it's time, hurry up, please, it's time. Good night, Bill, good night, Lou, good night, May. And this is a quotation from Mad Philia. The life in modern time is become maddening. Because one cannot rely upon the sweetness of human relationship. One cannot trust the lover. There is a complete lack of trust between the lover. The last stanza depicts two women talking in a pub at the closing time. Hence, the repeated phrase, hurry up, please, it's time. The subject of conversation is a character called Lil, whose husband Albert was recently released from the army after the war. He gave Lil money to get a new set of teeth. But she has hesitated. You ought to be ashamed, the friend says. She looks so antique, I can't help, the women say, pulling a long face. Lil has apparently taken abortion pill and is unhappy in her marriage. The dialogue grows more fractured and the closing time announcement becomes more frequent.